Okay, so a few more things to talk about for week 2 of our class. Under the module for week 2, I have 3 Excel files posted there. I've already got them all open, so we'll take a look at them here. The first one we're looking at deals with the week, it's called Week 2 Excel, NPV, and IRR. It's an example of net present value and IRR using Excel. And remember, in our PowerPoint we talked about project S and L, short and long. And this is kind of the same thing, only it's using different numbers. That's really all. And so down here, now we're focusing just on NPV and IRR. There's actually some other methods out there too. And so there's some formulas here that I just left there just because, no other real reason. And I just wanted to show you for NPV how that works and show you the formula here. So right here, I've got my cursor down here. It's on cell D30. I know it's kind of small, but just open up the Excel and kind of look at this video at the same time and you'll see it. And I'm going to double click on that just so you can see what the source is. And it's coming from, oh golly, it's coming from B60. My bad. I thought it was going to come from right there. So let's go down here and take a look at B60 then. That's probably where I should be. That's where I should have started. My bad. So let me get down here a little bit. Slowly. There we go. That's where I should have been. So down here where it says NPV, once it stops, it's really being slow. There we go. Okay, down here, NPV. Let's double click on this formula right here. I just want you to see what the inputs are. So net present value, and I know it's small to see, but you can just double click this on your own. Net present value is, and I'm in cell like B60 again, is the interest rate. Here it's 10%. And the sum of all the future cash flow, so in green, C9 all the way to F9. Okay, the sum of those cash flows for 4 years plus B59, which is the negative 10,000, the initial cash outlay. So most cash flow patterns, as we talked about, an initial negative, then future positives. And so the NPV formula is saying, what are the future positives brought down to the present value of today at 10% in this example, compared to the initial cash outlay of 10,000, and I get a positive 104,802. Now this is in millions, so let's just say that was a $10 million investment with all these future $1 million inflows. That gives me 1,048,000 of net present value as a positive, which means I would do it. Okay, and this is just kind of the timeline approach right here. So what they did here was took each of these cash flows with arrows and said, you know, 5,300 discounted at 10% for 1 year is 4,818. 4,300 discounted at 2 years down to today is 3,553, and so on. So that's what they did here. Is they just brought all those values down to today to get us there. But what I want you guys using is the NPV right there. Okay, so that's the easiest one to do it. Then on the right hand side, it just shows you, if you want to build one from scratch, it shows you kind of just the functions, the screenshot of what you would do in Excel to do that. This is right there on the right. All right, and then down here is IRR. So this is where I should have started. So IRR, internal rate of return. Just like NPV, there's a little formula for it in Excel. Excel's already kind of done the heavy lifting for us. So remember that IRR, the concept with IRR is it's the rate of return that forces the NPV to be 0. Okay, that's what the concept of that is. And so again, on the right hand side, I have the Excel functions that you'd go through to build a screen. You'd go through to build one from scratch. Over here I've got the timeline approach, and basically saying if you brought all these down to present value, it would force NPV to be 0, you'd get this rate. Okay, so the one thing about IRR, it's a really easy formula. I'm going to double click on that, and it's really simple. It's just IRR and the sum of all of your cash flows, including the initial negative. So it's this initial negative of 10,000 plus my future 4 years of positive. It's all those brought together. And so what I'm saying is that whatever rate of return I need to force that stream of numbers to be a 0, What's that rate that forces the NPV to 0? And I'll hit escape so you can see the answer. It's 13.79. So I never actually type in what the WACC is on this formula. It's just literally just that sum of the cash flows, the initial negative and the future positives, just making sure you're capturing those in the cell. That's really all that you have to do right there, okay, to get that is the IRR. So if my rate of return was 10% and I calculate 13.79, I'm good, right? It's above 10%, so I would most likely say yes to the project. Okay, so that was the NPV IRR file. Let's take a look. We've got 2 more to look at. And then let's take a look at this one. And this one, if I can get it to get larger here, I'm working on it, is then the cash flow file. This is a cash flow example, very similar to the PowerPoint, almost the same. It looks a little bit like the one in your chapter 2. And just kind of walks you through the concept of what cash flow is. And this example they've given us is for a expansion project. So it kind of walks you through what the inputs are, cost of equipment to expand, salvage value, and all the variables and sales and costs, all that kind of stuff that go into it. And they build down here a spreadsheet that calculates cash flow. Okay, so you can see what they did. Very similar inputs to what we did in the PowerPoint, just more details to it in this example, just because with Excel you can kind of give a bigger example than you can in the PowerPoint. And so that's what that is, and it shows us what all the cash flows are coming out, and then our net cash flows are right here, and then it calculates the various rates right here. So like an NPV, I can double click on that, and you can see here what the inputs are. It's saying this initial cost of 10 plus these future positives at whatever the interest rate is, which is, let's see what the interest rate is, E69, which I kind of don't have showing right now. We get a positive 1,048. My IRR is 13.79. This shows us some other ones which we're not covering, MIRR and a few other methods too. Our chapter only focuses on NPV and IRR, so that's what we're focusing on. But those are the 2 gold ones. Those are the ones that most use the most. So that's just an example then of cash flow, just to take a look at. Very similar to what's in your book, just different numbers. And there's one more Excel file to look at. And let me get it open here, or get it bigger. Just thinking about it. There we go. So this is called Week 2 Excel assignment. So this is actually a homework assignment. And basically it's just a matter of completing this Excel file and then using the numbers that you get to go ahead and answer into the assignment in Blackboard under the Week 2 module. And so it's taking this information up here. So it's a very simple one, kind of similar to the PowerPoint one that we did. We're selling some new product. You can see the units here. Our sales price per unit is right here. Our variable cost per unit is here. Our depreciation is right here. And our fixed cost and depreciation is right here, and our depreciation rate's right here. And so what I did down here in yellow is just what you need to put in to calculate this and complete what your cash flows are. And it says here the initial cash flow is $25,000 in year 0. So in time 0 I spend $25,000. That's my negative. Then I've got the positives right here, and I put in my sales number, subtract my variable cost, subtract my fixed cost, all just using the inputs up here. I set this up that it will compute depreciation for you automatically. Okay, I took 25,000 times the factor, so I left that in there. I just said, you guys, I'll just give that one to you guys. And same thing with taxes. Taxes are 40%, and so I just take 40% times your EBIT, and that's your tax. So your tax and your depreciation will calculate all by themselves. You just have to put in these 4 numbers up here for each year, and then you're good to go. And that will give you a net cash flow in row 22. Okay, and once you've got that net cash flow in row 22, you can compute the NPV. Okay, so what you'll need to do here is I left the WACC at 11%, which is what it's supposed to be, and type in the cash flows right here. So year 0, that negative, and the future positives based on what you get here. Okay, that's what goes here. And that will automatically calculate the NPV for you, and then you can use this completed spreadsheet to answer the questions in Blackboard. So it's a kind of a multiple choice type of a assignment that if you've got this Excel open, go and launch the Blackboard assignment for this. You can answer the questions and you'll be good to go. So that's just basically a tool for you to use and compute some cash flows and NPV using a pretty simple scenario, very similar to the PowerPoint. So if you kind of review the PowerPoint one, it's almost identical to this one. Just different numbers, of course, but same years and stuff like that. So that's the Excel files to look at for this week. The first two are just examples, more FYI, and showing you what the formulas are in Excel. This one's for homework and for points.